If you want to learn how to use AI without it interfering with your OCD or making your OCD worse, or even better, in a way that actually helps your OCD treatment, this is going to be the exact training for you. Today, I'm going to show you. This is actually part two. I did one for those who have hypochondria or health anxiety. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how and what goes on in ChatGPT, the things you need to look out for, and then I'm going to show you how to use AI so it actually doesn't make your condition worse. So let's do this together. Just so you know, I have logged out of any type of AI that I use because I have trained my AI to work for me, not against me. And so I don't want that to interfere with me demonstrating how it might be showing up for you. Okay, so we are in a brand new ChatGPT. I've just picked ChatGPT. You could use this on Claude, Gemini, Grok, whatever you're using. These same prompts and these same strategy works. And so I want just first to show you how this can go really, really bad. Now, before we get going, I want to preface with that I love AI. I am not against AI. I use AI in my business, in my world every day. However, I am very, very, very intentional about how I use AI. I want it to be something that makes my life better, makes my world better, not something that makes me worse, my mental health worse, my world worse. And so that's what I want for you as well. Now, what I want to say to start with is preferably you won't use ChatGPT for your OCD and for your OCD obsessions. Whatever your subtype of OCD, preferably you are not using ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you why. If for some reason you are struggling with that, or that your life is very overlapped and it's hard to sort of differentiate, I'm going to show you specific skills you can use to make it so that it doesn't really tank your mental health and tank your condition. And we want to improve your treatment, not make it worse. Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of it, that you have OCD, and let's say you have OCD about, let's say, contamination OCD. And we could do multiple different kinds here, but I'm just going to use this as an example. And I have not practiced here. I just want you guys to know I have not prompted this. This is all going to be completely off the cuff. And so let's say I have contamination and I come in and I say, I just went to a party and the host told us that their family had recently had the chicken pox. This actually happened to me recently, actually. You have to forgive my spelling. I'm the worst speller. Thankfully, I have Grammarly, and Grammarly always fixes it for me. Okay. They said they have been symptom free for 5 days, let's just say. Okay. I am worried. I have contracted chickenpox. Let's just say. Let's just see what it says. Okay. So it goes to say it's understandable to be concerned, but based on what you described, your risk may be lower than it first seems. So for those of you who are listening, I'm going to read this off as best as I can. So already, and it's saying your risk may be lower than it first seems, is in bold. Okay. Now I'm sure ChatGPT is trying to reassure me here. And if you didn't have OCD, you probably would feel relieved by that. But that wording for someone with OCD, all that does is open up a whole can of worms of uncertainty. Your risk, that is going to scare the pants off someone with OCD, may be lower than it first seems. Now, you know, if you have OCD, your OCD is going to immediately go, can I be sure? Like, how do I know? How can I be certain? Okay, let's follow on what it says. It says a few key points. Chickenpox is contagious for about 1 to 2 days before the rash appears, right? And then it goes on. This is very long. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. It also says if the host or the family member who had chickenpox has truly been symptom-free for 5 days, they may no longer have been contagious, but it depends on what symptom-free means. And then it goes to give me this. Now, as you can imagine, if you have OCD, this idea of symptom-free, their OCD is immediately going to have questions like, how do I know? I did notice a bump. Maybe it was a chicken pox when it could have been a mosquito bite, right? Like, as I said in the health anxiety episode I did on this, now instead of your OCD opening up new intrusive thoughts with new what ifs, Chat's doing it for them. It's going, well, what is symptom free? It's planting seeds of uncertainty all over the place, which is why this is so painful for you to be using if you're using it to help get reassurance. Now, I get it. One of the common compulsions that happens with OCD is reassurance. We want to get certainty and we want to get that answer urgently. And this is actually pushing us more towards having more uncertainty, but dragging us in and giving us reassurance at the same time. It's like a push-pull. It's like a slap and a punch at the same time. Now, it also goes to say your risk depends on your immunity. Oh my God, here we go. If you've had chickenpox before, you're very unlikely to get it again. But again, see how it's saying very unlikely? That's a fact. But for the person with OCD, their intention is coming to get rid of uncertainty, it's opening uncertainty up again. If you've received 2 doses of the chickenpox vaccine, your risk is much lower, although breakthrough infections can occasionally occur. Again, so what we're seeing here is it's sort of like, it's a slap and a kick at the same time, giving reassurance, opening up uncertainty. Then it goes on to say what you can do now. It says, think about whether you have had chickenpox or been vaccinated. Well, the person with OCD, telling them to think more is not helpful. The next thing it says, if you know you are not immune, right, and the exposure was within the last 3 to 5 days, contact your healthcare provider in some cases, and then it goes on to talk about that. So then it asks a couple of questions that would help assess your risk in bold. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is just so unhelpful for folks who have OCD. It says, have you had chickenpox before, or did you receive the chickenpox vaccine? Well, let's say for me, I recently went home to Australia. My brother and his son recently had chickenpox. I have never had the chickenpox, so I'm going to answer question 1. I have never had chickenpox, right? Was it the host themselves who recently had it? And I'll say yes. Yes, the host. And then because I have OCD, I'm going to start to ask questions like, should I do some kind decontamination? Sorry, you guys. Of my body or my car or my house. Let's just see what it says. No, you do not need to decontaminate your body, your car, or your house because of this exposure. Good. Okay, that's helpful. It says what you can do is wash your hands as you normally would. That's actually helpful. If you haven't already, showering and changing clothes is reasonable if it gives you peace of mind. So again, that's fine. You get to have a shower after you've gone to a party. However, they're encouraging you to have peace of mind, which we all deserve. I'm not going to disagree with that. But if you have OCD, the idea of that is actually saying, go and get relief. It's actually reinforcing and educating you towards getting relief. And again, I want to say, it's not like I'm going to tell you you're not allowed to shower. Of course you are. But the wording here is not helpful for your recovery. And then it says, but it isn't expected to prevent infection. Good. And it says no disinfectants is needing. And then it goes on to say the more important issue is that you've never had chickenpox. If you're unvaccinated and you've never had chickenpox, you may still have an opportunity to reduce your risk, okay? So it says, if your exposure was within the last 3 to 5 days, contact a healthcare provider as soon as possible and receive the vaccination. Now, again, that's not bad advice. Like, again, I want to really be nuanced here. I'm not saying it's telling you the wrong information, but what I am saying is it doesn't understand you have contamination OCD. It doesn't understand that you're likely to go and do extra washing. It's not leading you in the direction of good, really effective treatment, okay? And then it says, and see, this is where it gets really in trouble with chat, is it keeps asking questions. Can I ask you one more question? Approximately how many days ago was the party? That determines whether preventative vaccination is still an option. So it keeps opening the door for you to get deeper and deeper and down into the rabbit hole. Let's close this out and do one other example. Is let's say you have harm OCD and you say, I was just with my grandmother, let's say. No, actually, let's do one that's actually happened to me. I was just holding my baby. She is 8 months old. I am visiting my parents at the beach. This happened. All of a sudden, I had this urge to push her over the balcony. I'm curious. Let's see what it says. Thank you for telling me. That can feel very disturbing, especially when it comes out of nowhere. Okay. What you're describing can be an intrusive thought. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful to hear that it says that. An unwanted distressive impulse or mental image that pops in your mind without reflecting what you actually want to do. More parents experience these intrusive thoughts about accidental or intentional harm coming to their baby, and the fact that you thought of it as upsetting to you is often an important distinction from wanting to act on it. Right now, because you're on a balcony and the thought involves pushing your baby, the safest thing to do is to hand your baby to another trusted adult or step away from the balcony without her and go inside. You guys, what they've just encouraged me to do, while I understand it's probably appropriate because they don't understand the context and they're leaning on the side of, just in case, they've just told me, someone with OCD, to do an avoidant compulsion. Then it goes on to say, you don't have to test yourself by staying there. Creating some distance from the situation is a practical way to reduce the distress. Okay, big problems here, you guys. Now, again, I'm not anti-AI. If this was someone who wanted to throw their baby off, that would be the appropriate response. But if you're someone with OCD, coming to AI to try and figure out a problem, this is not good advice. It says, again, can I ask you one important question? It always says that. When you had the urge, did it feel like something you were afraid of doing and didn't want? Or did it feel like something you actually wanted to do? And then it says the answer will help distinguish between intrusive thoughts and something that needs your attention. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but then it goes on to say that I could call 911 or the suicide crisis lifeline or so forth. And then it says, so I'm here with you. Tell me, did the urge feel unwanted and scary, or did it feel like something you wanted to do? So I am just going to tell you exactly what my clients would say. I would say it felt scary and unwanted, but I am not sure. It also felt like something I wanted to do. Let's just see, because that's very common. Sometimes people with harm OCD or postpartum OCD, they'll say, no, I'm pretty certain my brain is telling me I wanted to. In fact, my brain said, throw her off the edge, right? That is what happens with these types of OCD. Let's see what it says. Okay, it says, thank you for answering honesty. The uncertainty described is important to take seriously. My God, guys, my heart is hurting for this mom right now. It goes on to say, when someone says a thought was both scary and unwanted but felt like something they wanted to do, I don't want to assume it's just an intrusive thought. The priority is keeping your baby safe while you sort out what's going on. Okay, and then it says, I'm laughing hard, guys, but only because I'm literally trying not to cry. And I always laugh when I'm uncomfortable. It says, for now, give your baby to a trusted adult, move away from the balcony, avoid being alone with your baby until you've been evaluated and the urge is passed. Tell one of your parents something simple and direct, such as, I'm having disturbing thoughts about hurting the baby and I don't feel comfortable holding her right now. Can you take over while I get help? Okay. And then it goes on to say, because you aren't sure, I recommend getting an urgent mental health evaluation today. Now, that's actually good advice in that you may not yet know that you have OCD. And if that's true, well, then that's great. However, what they're not mentioning is get an urgent mental health evaluation by an OCD specialist. Because a mental health evaluation could be with someone who is evaluating for the risk of harm, not the risk of harm OCD. And someone with OCD experience will know how to do both. A general therapist or a general doctor won't most of the time, right? And then again, it goes through telling me to call 911. Then it says, I also, again, wanting to ask prompts. I also want to ask you brief questions to better understand the situation. Is someone with you right now that can take care of your baby? Since your baby was born, have you had any other experiences like hearing voices that other people can't hear, feeling convinced of things others say aren't true, or feeling unusually energized with little sleep or need for sleep? So what they're trying to do here is they're trying to help assess for delusions, potential schizophrenia, potential bipolar. I know this because I'm a clinician, convinced of things that others say aren't true. Could be schizophrenia, delusions, hallucinations, or OCD, because OCD makes you convinced of things that aren't true. And so here now they've actually planted the seed into this person with OCD that they're actually mentally unwell. Now, again, please hear me. Chat is doing the best it can. AI is doing the best it can to find information based on very little information. And so I get what it's trying to do here. However, if you have any of these mental conditions, AI is not the place to go. It's going to take you down a rabbit hole. In this case, give you really, really unhelpful advice. Now, there are two really basic examples of how AI can radically make your mental health worse in many, many, many ways. What I'm going to offer to you is some prompts that you can use to train your AI how to not lead you down a rabbit hole. Now, these are prompts that I have put in my own personal AI. I use many different types of AI. These are prompts that I use and have put in so that forever now, it always knows. Now, I'm going to show you. There are two prompts that I have for you. If you go to Instagram, you can just you can go to Your Anxiety Toolkit on Instagram, comment on any of my posts the word prompt, and I will send you all the prompts that I use for different conditions. Now, this is a general OCD prompt. I have some for health anxiety. Now, I have two prompts here for you. I'm not going to go over them completely, but I have a general OCD prompt. This is for folks who have multiple different subtypes, or I have a very specific subtype prompt. If you have, let's say you definitely just have harm OCD, you could then insert that into it and it can give you very, very more specific advice. But what I have here is a prompt, and what it's saying is I have obsessive-compulsive disorder and I am actively practicing cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure and response prevention. Please respond in a way that support my recovery rather than my OCD. Then it goes on to say, do not provide reassurance, certainty, or help me engage in compulsions such as checking, researching, analyzing, reviewing memories, comparing, confessing, or seeking repeated reassurance. If my question appears to be driven by OCD, please tell me compassionately and explain why, and then help me to respond in a way that is consistent with ERP by encouraging willingness to experience uncertainty, response prevention, and value-based action. You may provide evidence-based psychoeducation, help me plan exposures, review my homework, and strengthen my recovery skills. If there is a genuine safety concern that would warrant action for the average person, you may recommend appropriate steps. If I repeat the same question, and this is gold, you guys, if I repeat the same question or ask similar questions in different ways, recognize it as a possible OCD pattern and generally redirect me towards recovery instead of certainty. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to copy that prompt. I'm going to go back to my free account. So again, this chat has not been trained yet. And I'm going to post that into the chat. Now, if you have a free account, you can just copy and paste this in every time. Save it onto a note, copy and paste it every time you think you might be engaging in OCD behaviors. If you have a paid account, you can add this in as a rule and it will remember it forever. So that no matter what happens, even if your subtype shifts, it will question and say, is there a chance this might be your OCD? So now we are going to ask the same question with that prompt. So I've uploaded the prompt that I just read to you, and I'm going to say, I was just holding my baby, and I am visiting my parents at the beach. I had a strong urge to push my 8-month-old baby off the edge of the balcony. All right. So I'm putting in almost exactly the same prompt and that I had used the first time, but I'm also using the AI prompt that's letting them know about my treatment. Let's see what it says. It says, thank you for telling me. Because you mentioned the urge to push your baby, it's important to respond carefully. Given the context you shared, OCD, active ERP practice, and a sudden frightening what if I do this urge while holding a baby, this sounds very consistent with what many people with OCD experience, an intrusive harm, thought, or impulse that leads to vivid, alarming, and completely against their values. OCD often targets what matters most, and being a caring parent can make these thoughts especially distressing. Then it goes on and walks me through the key to an ERP response is to, in bold, it says, try not to prove yourself that you would never do it. Try not to analyze why it happened or replay the moment or seek certainty that you're safe. It says instead, you can practice something like, I'm having the thought or urge that I might push my baby. This is an OCD alarm. Or, I don't need to figure out what this means. Or it says, I can allow this uncomfortable feeling to be here and choose my actions based on my values, right? Then it goes on to say, a practical ERP consistent step is to notice the urge and anxiety without arguing with it. Very good. Let the uncertainty exist. Very good. Continuing acting as the parent you want to be. Oh my God, you guys, there it is. There it is. That is gold. That advice is gold. Then it goes on to say, I do want to check one important distinction. Here we go again with AI. And this is why you shouldn't use AI again, guys, because it always prompts answers and then it prompts you another question, which just brings you back into the circle. And then it goes on to ask, are you experiencing this as unwanted? Or are you feeling like you might actually act on it? Now, again, this is not good. This is pulling you back into the content. This is why you shouldn't be using AI. But again, at least it's better than that. Now, here is what I want to do. It goes on to say, if you feel like at any point you might act on the urge, right? And it tells you what to do. Let's just do one quick play. So I'm copying the question where it says, I do want to check on you and get a distinction. And I'm going to say, hey, this is where you can train it. This question actually took me back into the obsession. Please do not do this is what I'm going to write. And then I've copied and pasted where it's starting to ask me questions like, do you really want to do it? So let's see what it says. And it said, thank you for pointing that out. You're right. My question could function as a checking prompt in an OCD context, asking you to analyze the meaning of the thought, determine whether it quote unquote counts, or prove that it was only an intrusive thought, can pull you back into the obsessional loop. And then it goes on to say a more ERP consistent response would be, and then it says and it goes on. I'm not going to go through this. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can pause it and read what it's actually saying here. The cool thing is at the bottom, it says, at the very bottom, I'll avoid asking you repetitively classify, analyze, and prove the nature of intrusive thoughts. If a situation involves an immediate, ordinary person safety concern, I'll focus on a practical safety steps rather than an OCD analysis, right? For intrusive thought OCD moments, I'll support ERP, willingness, response prevention, and value-based action. And there you have it, guys. We are starting to train AI not to undo all the good work that we're doing in our own recovery. Now, you can prompt it. You might even get a little bossy, which is what I like to do, and say, from now on, I want you to guide me towards diffusion activity. Or you might say, guide me towards the self-compassion activity. Or maybe you want to say, if you notice I'm stuck in OCD, ask me the question, what can you put your attention on right now that is not OCD related? And what activity can you go back and engage in? You can train it to be an amazing, basically like an ERP buddy, right? A buddy who is encouraging you and reinforcing the beauty of ERP instead of making it worse. Okay. I've given you 2 examples of OCD. I hope that was helpful. If you go to Instagram, you comment the word prompt, it will send you a free doc that has these prompts there. It'll have health anxiety ones, it'll have OCD, and any additional ones that I have for you. That will be there for you as a gift from me to you. And I hope this has been helpful. Please do follow, guys. I am on a mission to help millions of you have a better relationship with your anxiety. And I hope that this has been helpful. Share it with anyone you think would be helpful. And I hope you have a beautiful day. As always, it is a beautiful day to do hard things.